So right now we're going to do the sheep's brain presentation. I'm going to start off with the whole brain so you have the general anatomy of it. So first off, we have the cerebrum. It's not nice and round like ours, it's more ovalish. And then we have the cerebellum down here. Between the two, we have, if we were to stick this right there, this is a longitudinal fissure, okay, between the two hemispheres of the cerebrum. Alright. And then the transverse fissure, remember it's between the cerebrum and cerebellum, so it'd be right here in the middle. Okay?
Which one?
The transverse fissure. Then we have over here on the side coming about, it's slightly different. We're going to come around from up here all the way down through. This would be the lateral fissure or sulcus. And if we were to have better accessibility between the two hemispheres of the cerebellum about that, or even through the bottom, it would be the, this would be where the falx cerebelli would fall in, okay? This would be another type of longitudinal fissure. But you just need to know that in between those two hemispheres would go kind of more towards the bottom. We would have the falx cerebelli going in, belly because cerebellum. In the longitudinal fissure, we have the falx cerebri, is the dura mater that falls in. In the transverse fissure, that's the tentorium cerebelli. So just think T goes with T, transverse fissure, tentorium cerebelli. Okay? So now, right here, this would be your pineal gland, and then we're looking at right here on the side, which we'll look in there, is the superior and inferior colliculi. Right here, this one that we have running up alongside, this is the olfactory bulb nerve. This is, there's either the stubs of the optic nerve and the optic chiasma right here. This one right here we have coming alongside is coming from the center, so this is abducens. And those are the ones we can see clearly here. For sheeps, their olfactory and their optic will be extremely large, so don't be surprised. Okay. We have frontal lobe. From this point on, we have parietal. So this right here would be the central sulcus. We'd have the precentral gyri, postcentral gyri. At the back, we have the occipital lobes. And on the side, we have the temporal lobes. Cerebellum, obviously. Remember, the point in connection is the vermis. The ridges of the cerebellum are referred to as the folia. This just means like folds. And right here, we'd have the pons, medulla oblongata, and then the brainstem. Any questions on the superficial anatomy?
Where did lateral sulcus?
The lateral is coming from the top, going down the way.
Okay. Top.
Now we're going to look on the inside. This portion right here, this is an example of the dura mater. It's hanging off right here. So now, this area right here is where the falx cerebri would fall in. Just like in our brain models, guys, this right here, the C shape, is the corpus callosum. This small sheath right here that's kind of teared is the septum pellucidum. At the base of the septum pellucidum is the fornix, and then would be followed down, lower down by the choroid plexus. This area right here encircled is the thalamus, and then the region would be the third ventricle. This is the optic chiasma. Do not confuse it with the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland tends to fall off easily in humans, animals, and even on models because it is extremely frail, and the infundibulum is frail as well. For this right here, we have the cerebral aqueduct leading right here in this area, then going down and connecting in this area right here that opens up of the cerebellum. This is the fourth ventricle. This white structure right here, just in like our models, and in humans, this is the arbor vitae, meaning tree of life, and it is composed or made up by white matter, meaning that what is surrounding it is the gray matter. So, like I said earlier, diencephalon would be a little bit higher up. We're going in this area right here is the midbrain, this right here is the pons, and this area down here is the medulla oblongata. From this point on is the brainstem. Any questions so far? Okay, so the other one we had in earlier was better. Okay, in this area here, we would have the pineal gland, and then the superior and inferior colliculi. The superior and inferior colliculi in half of the brain is referred to that way, but if you have the whole brain and it's the four of them put together, so if we look at this area and we're looking at this, the superior and then the inferior underlaying, that would be the corpora quadrigemina. Any questions or any specific ones you need?
On the lab practical, what's like something that they usually won't point out, or
They'll ask. They can ask obviously for the optic chiasma because it is rather big. They can ask for bigger features such as the corpus callosum, septum pellucidum. If they were to put this through the septum pellucidum with a pointer going through, that's referring to the lateral ventricle. Okay? They can ask for the fornix, they can ask for the thalamus, and then hypothalamus is always going to be towards the front, so remember that towards the optic chiasma is the hypothalamus, in the back is the epithalamus. And arbor vitae is one of the ones they'll always ask, or they can ask in general for the cerebellum. They can ask for the fourth ventricle, cerebral aqueduct, the pons, because it is a structure that does stick out, and you can see what it shapes that way. Brainstem, medulla oblongata, any feature that you have on your list, really. So this thin little covering that we have here looks like a mucus, and that would be the pia mater. Okay? And just in general, anytime that there's a depression, it's called a sulcus, and elevation or folds, as these are the gyri or gyrus, in meaning individual or single. That's it.
Thank you.